Hello guys, Crispy here, welcome back to another video. In this one, my friends, I'm going to be testing a GeForce RTX 4080 in ARK Survival Ascended. Let's find out if this ascends to heaven after it dies because of this game, shall we? So this one is the Founders Edition model of the card. We are running it with the latest Nvidia drivers, and I'm not manually overclocking it. You can see all of its specs right here in Tech Power-Ups. GPU 0 resizable bar is also enabled, and we got 16 gigabytes of GDDR6X memory right here. And also, guys, while we're talking about the VRAM size, I actually tried to join a single-player match to just create one with the RTX 4080 for about like 10 minutes today, and it always said that I was running out of VRAM, and it crashed every single time. How much memory do you want, ARK? What the heck? I found out later that the VRAM size wasn't really the problem. I had overclocked the CPU a little bit too far, and that was causing the crashing. But interesting little message, you know? Anyway, speaking of CPU, we're pairing it with the i5-13600K, overclocked to 5.5 gigahertz. I pushed it to 5.6, and it was causing crashes. And over on the memory tab, we're using 32 gigabytes of DDR5 6000 MHz RAM in dual channel. Let's get into it, shall we? Oh yeah, first up, let's take a look at the requirements and see where we land. So we got the i5-13600K. It's more than enough for the recommend. Oh my god! I didn't really notice that it recommends 32 freaking gigabytes of RAM. What? Of course, that's what we have, but I was not expecting that. And for the graphics card, it asks for an RX 6800 and an RTX 3080, so we're above that, of course. And SSD required. It's also installed on a PCI Express 4.0 NVMe SSD. Let's check out some of these reviews because I find them quite interesting. I want to see the NASA PC that this game was tested on before releasing to the public. It's inspiring, isn't it? Getting 30 to 45 FPS with an RTX 4090 and an i9-13900K at 1440p. Oh boy. So yeah, guys, we're in for a treat. Let's finally launch the unoptimized mess. Okay, let's go over the settings now. I'm starting at 1080p resolution using the Epic Graphics preset, and it recommends the RTX 4070 and up for this preset. We're also going to try it with probably high, because it's more reasonable. Well, it's a $1,200 GPU, but it's a new game, UE5. Now, over on the RTX tab, we find DLSS settings. Of course, we're going to try that out, as well as frame generation and so on, and yeah, that's about it. Let's go. Ah, what a beautiful day. Actually, this game is very pretty. I wasn't expecting ARK to look this good, honestly, because the first one was a bloomy mess, basically. But this one, man, it has really pretty graphics, not gonna lie. Now, we're getting 40s. 1080p resolution with an RTX 4080, and I think as pretty as the graphics are, what is that? What? Hello? Is that a diamond or something? No, it's just a graphical bug, I guess. Okay, as pretty as the graphics are, no game should be this intensive. But remember, guys, we still got that DLSS support and frame generation and so on to increase... I think I disabled the damage, but I'm not sure if I did disable the fall damage. But yeah, things will definitely improve even if you want to play at the highest settings possible, okay? So not all hope is lost, but... I think many... what is happening here? Why is it so weird? Okay, wait, the changes in the shadows just by moving the camera. Oh my goodness, that's so bad. Also, I found that with DLSS enabled, it actually has less artifacting. It's flickering or whatever. It's pretty weird, and whenever you enable DLSS, that goes away. I'm gonna set it to quality right here. Okay, save that, and look at that. It's like we got another game that was made with the upscalers in mind. They didn't even try it without DLSS, I guess. Also, it's getting the same FPS, like, what? Is it actually getting the same FPS with DLSS quality enabled? I've never seen this before. 38 FPS right there, okay. And let's disable it. Save that. No, okay, it was getting like 34 and 35 FPS and it jumped to 38. So we got like 10% improvement by enabling DLSS. Holy crap, that's one of the worst improvements with DLSS that I've ever seen. What the heck is going on? Oh my gosh. All right, moving on then. I was really, really hoping that... Oh, wait a second. Maybe it was just loading? No, looking in this direction, it's still the same. I was really hoping for like 60 FPS. Sometimes you get 40 FPS. You enable DLSS quality at 1080p and you get like 60 FPS, even higher in some titles. This isn't one of them, my friends. Apparently, the dinosaurs still clip inside of each other and stuff. It's like playing ARK Survival Evolved, but with a new graphics engine. The previous game was completely broken when it came out. It struggled to run on like a GTX 980 Ti back in 2014 or 15. And I remember seeing even the GTX Titan X, which was a super beast of a card back in the days, struggling to run this at 1080p Epic. Not this, the previous game, of course. So, yeah, they delivered. It's exactly the same crap. But yeah, at least this time around, this is looking fantastic. Even with all of the graphics quality settings enabled, like the bloom and so on. Bloom actually looks pretty nice in this game. You guys warned me that this game was a complete optimization mess, and I believed it, but I didn't think it was this bad. Okay, this is a $1,200 GPU at 1080p, and you actually need frame generation and DLSS quality at the same time to achieve 60 plus FPS all of the time, guys. But the issue is, if you do this, the image becomes quite soft and noisy, especially around... Oh my god, what the heck? Early access, my friend. I don't think these guys are supposed to jump like that. Whoa. Oh, this is gonna be a fun series. At least I'm not pooping all over the place like in the first one. What the hell, dude? Like, what? Are you crazy? I was saying before we got rudely interrupted by our friends, they're probably Bob's friends or Bob's ancestors, yes, that's it, that the frame generation doesn't really look all that great compared with like quality DLSS. At quality DLSS it looked a little bit better than native, I guess, because it got rid of all of that noisy effect and flickering and shimmering. But here with frame generation, well... that effect isn't really here, because this entire forest right here was pretty terrible at native resolution. It's when you see fog, you know, that you get those weird effects. And here with DLSS quality and frame generation at the same time, we don't really see any of that. It's just that when you're moving, especially through grass and stuff, it gets really pixelated, as well as the shadows on our back, for example. Moving on, let's try it with performance DLSS, okay? I'm just curious to see how it looks. Yeah, not bad, actually. I just wonder why they removed the sharpness sliders from DLSS, because it did make a big difference in some games, but now all the new releases seem to avoid the sharpness slider, and it becomes pretty blurry without it, honestly. But yeah, with the performance DLSS, it hardly improves anything in terms of FPS. We get like, what, 10, 15 more frames? That's not a lot, guys. Again, I was expecting way higher. Alright, I'm gonna disable the frame generation as well as DLSS, alright? And by the way, we were also using 100% resolution scale, of course. You actually gotta manually set it to that. But moving on to a higher resolution. What kind of FPS can we expect at 2560 by 1440? This is 1440p native, very adequate res for a 4080, and interesting. It doesn't seem to affect the FPS by all that much, increasing or decreasing the resolution. That's why DLSS quality didn't really boost our frames like crazy like it usually does in other games. That's... You know, that's not a terrible thing if you have very high FPS, like in Forza Horizon 5, for example. In that game, lowering or increasing the resolution also doesn't really improve things by all that much. But in that game, we get 100 plus FPS easily, even at like 4K resolution with an RTX 4080. And well, in ARK, we get like 45 at 1080p and 30-ish at 1440p. It's so weird, dude. It's playable, I guess, if you are used to the ARK experience. If you played ARK Survival Evolved at release, I think this must have been similar to the experience that you had, right? On a top-end system as well. Oh boy, it's starting to drop a little bit right here, guys. 30 FPS flat for a second. Oh boy. Will it drop? Yes, it will. Yes, it will. 29 FPS. Oh boy. That's pretty intensive. It's good looking, but I'm not gonna call it well optimized, guys. So hopefully DLSS will save us, because it is actually dipping into the 20s very often at the moment, guys. Anyway, let's enable DLSS on quality first. No frame generation, just the normal stuff. And alrighty, looking great. At least it looks pretty much the same as native resolution. And at 1440p, well, again, we're still in the 30s, but I guess we're gonna get like higher 30s, mid 30s more often. Previously, it was dropping into low 30s and high 20s, so this is an improvement for sure, especially if you want to play at like 30 FPS locked. I can't believe I'm saying this. Yes, for a consistent experience with an RTX 4080 in ARK Survival Ascended, you probably will want to lock the FPS to 30, add a little bit of motion blur, and play with the controller. Yes, you spent $1,200 for this. At least it's not using the same font as in Survival Evolved. You know, that looked terrible. And the menus also looked terrible. Speaking of, I haven't really gone to the menu yet. Oh, it's the same thing. Okay. So, even the menu is the same. Are you serious? Alright, let's enable the savior, shall we, my friends? Frame generation at 1440p. Alright, looks way better than it did at 1080p. Now, moving around here, running around, I can't really see much noise anymore. Yeah, it's way, way better looking than at 1080p indeed. But the thing is, it's dropping into the 60s. It's in the 70s most of the time, and it drops into the 60s. And whenever it drops into the 60s, that means that the input lag is around the same as 35 frames per second. Jesus Christ, we're going into a new area, and it's starting to stutter like crazy again. Oh, boy! Alright, it's all good. It's all good. Underwater things as well. I mean, maybe they added a ton of content. I'm just not aware of it because, again, I don't play ARK. All right, at least you can say that it's running at 60 plus. If you've just watched a video on YouTube without me telling you that the input lag is pretty bad, actually, well, you wouldn't know. You would think, well, this is not too bad, right? 70 FPS, 1440p max settings. That's reasonable. It's not amazing, and I actually got mad at like Remnant for this kind of performance. Actually, I think it was getting like 50s at 1440p native resolution with ultra settings. But yeah, I mean, after all of the things that we've seen this year, this would be acceptable at native resolution, but it's with frame generation and DLSS and so on. Still early access as well. I gotta keep that in mind, right? They still have time to optimize it. Now will they, though? Anyways, let's try it out with performance DLSS, okay? And we got like 10 more FPS once again. And the image is way blurrier right now. I was expecting it to look a little bit better than this. Again, if it had a sharpness slider, it would have helped it a little bit here with performance DLSS, guys. But hey, I guess 80-something FPS is quite a lot better, or at least like 75 FPS plus all of the time is quite a lot better than the 60s that we were seeing with frame generation enabled, all because of that input lag situation. So yeah, it doesn't feel nearly as laggy or as unresponsive as previously. So I guess if you wanted to shoot people around and stuff like that, you sort of could. Like, you gotta think about it as well. Your enemies are probably running a worse GPU than you with a 4080. So, it's likely that with 80-something FPS, even with frame generation and the input lag of FG, you're gonna end up on top and actually killing the person. So, that's it. That's it for 1440p. It's not great, but it is playable at the very least, and it stutters a lot. It's time now to make it unplayable. Also, yes, I enabled the SR in Nvidia control panel to play at 8K. Oh, the clueless El Crispo. Alright guys, we're at 4K resolution using epic settings now, and it is getting 20 FPS. See the little noisy effects over there once again, guys? That's something that they definitely need to fix. Now, this is with 100% resolution scale. You know what? Just think about it. Just think about it for a second. Red Dead Redemption 2 looks really good. And it runs at like, what, 70 frames per second, 80 frames per second at 4K native resolution, complete max settings, not like optimized settings, not ultra settings, preset, max settings, aside from 8 times MSAA. That's like 4 times better than this. Does this look 4 times better than ARK Survival, the Red Dead Redemption 2? I mean, it's more vibrant and everything, and I like that a lot in games, but the actual quality... Yeah, textures do look quite a bit better, yes. But Red Dead Redemption 2 is also a very detailed game with a huge open world, tons of grass as well, although probably not as much grass variety. Yeah, I don't think this looks 4 times better for it to be performing this much slower. So yeah, this is probably not even good for screenshots since that happens over there. So let's enable DLSS, my friends, on quality first, okay? So this is DLSS with no frame generation, and see that? Much better looking. No shimmery effects anywhere or flickering. I don't even know what to call it. In other titles, you'd definitely be seeing 30 plus FPS, or like 40 on average, for example. But here, since it's ARK, well, we get a smooth 24 plus FPS all of the time. So at least we don't drop from 24 frames per second, I guess, right? So you could say that this is a very cinematic experience. Oh boy, it's dropping. 23. But most of the time, it is going to be a very cinematic experience. It is a perfect one, right? Oh, yes. Gotta love this. All right. So this is still not playable unless you like very choppy frame rates. Let's try it on performance right away, okay? Oh, I can actually tell a difference. It's a little bit softer. In some games at 4K resolution, you can't really tell as much of a difference as in this one when you enable DLSS quality. Unfortunately, this gets really soft on performance, guys. But it is dropping still. Look at that. 28 frames per second, 29. This is basically rendering the game at 1080p res and upscaling to 4K at the moment with the use of DLSS, of course. And it's dropping still. Oh no, we got the overexposed crap again. No, go away, Bloom. I don't want you here. Seriously, it was looking so good up until now. I don't like to see that. Let's enable frame generation on top of DLSS performance, because that is the only way we will get 30 plus FPS all of the time with an RTX 4080. 50s, okay, much better you might think. If only the input delay was the same as 50 FPS, it would have been really, really good, but yeah, it's about 30s input lag-wise. Oh my god, I'm so sorry about the screen tearing, by the way. That's just because of the freaking capture card. I hate it, man. The experience is like 60 to 70 FPS. Okay, fine, I can handle it. But with less than 60 frames per second, when frame generation is turned on, the input lag is way too much, guys. Should we try ultra performance? Okay, I'm gonna try ultra performance next, guys. And now we can actually get 60 plus FPS. So the only way you're going to be playing at 4K 60 plus FPS all of the time with epic settings is if you play with like, what, 720p resolution? Is that ultra performance at 4K? I think so. If performance is 1080p, ultra performance is probably 720p. This is upscaling from 720p. And on top of that, we still got the frame generation stuff going on. Now, for a 720p base image, this is looking pretty insane, actually. The DLSS is making a huge, huge effort and a good job, actually, of upscaling that. But yeah, you can clearly see that around moving things like the character running, for example, it's super pixelated. It can't really do that great of a job in those situations. All right, I'm going to drop it down to high settings this time around. And high settings defaults the resolution scale to 63%. That's pretty low, right? Oh, wait, what? Oh, it depends on the resolution, I guess. With the 4K resolution, it actually defaults to 70% on Epic, not 100%. But it's okay. Let's go with high, 63%. Okay, we're back here. Ooh, no, we got motion blur this time around. Why does this look like crap now? Oh, it's still loading. Okay. All right, I was wondering if something was wrong here. All right, apparently we're now at 30 plus. So there is hope, my friends, but it's 63% resolution scale. Let's turn off motion blur. There we go. This is it, guys. This isn't even native resolution. Let that sink in. This is 63% resolution scaling, and it does look really good. Okay, I'm gonna give them that. It's looking pretty nice for 63% resolution scale, but I don't like 30 FPS, man. Come on. Nobody does. Nobody that bought a card like this likes 30 FPS. Did I press restore all graphics? No, I did not. Okay, let's use DLSS on top of things. It's still the same. It's exactly the same, man. What? I wonder if something is broken at native resolution and turning on DLSS fixes that. It's on quality at the moment. I know why it's pretty much the same. Because DLSS quality is 67% resolution scale, and we were playing at 63% resolution scale. So if you don't set the resolution scale to 100%, enabling DLSS can actually be worse in terms of performance compared to DLSS off. So I guess what we need to do is select 100% right here to play at native resolution and check out the FPS. There we go, it's the same crap almost as previously, a little bit more stable, I guess. Right, but it still drops a lot from 30 frames per second. I was gonna say 60, you know, because that would have been the frame rate that the 48 is supposed to get, but no, we're talking about barely scraping 30 frames per second. Okay, so I'm gonna set it to performance again, guys, on high settings. Apparently high settings is not gonna save this. Okay, scanning. Oh, whoa, chill down, buddy, chill down. Stop stuttering. You already perform bad enough. You don't need to stutter on top of it, okay? Thank you. Yeah, it's getting 40s now with performance DLSS. Again, on like a 32-inch 4K monitor or a 27-inch, 28-inch. It is not gonna be as soft as this, as what I'm seeing here with my eyes, because I'm playing this on a 42-inch. Yeah, over here I can see some pixelation on the grass. It's not terrible, though. It's definitely still very passable, even at this size of monitor. But it's just underwhelming. Again, guys, with performance DLSS at 4K high settings, I thought the 4080 would give us like 80 frames per second at the very least, right? Let's use frame generation, the savior of these GPUs, and now we can actually achieve 60 plus FPS, I guess. Maybe it's gonna drop in some scenarios, because it's dropping to the mid-60s already, but yeah, most of the time it's gonna be 60 plus. You gotta live with the input lag issue, of course, but it's not the end of the world. Let's put it like this. I would actually prefer this experience with the input delay than quality DLSS, except if you are a very competitive person in ARK, of course. In that case, definitely go for native frames. You don't want the added input lag. All right, time for 1440p high with 100% resolution scale. Let's see how it does. What is going on with the water? It looks so bad. What the hell? Why? It's the current, I guess, but why? Let's start counting our FPS. So at native 1440p, we can achieve 30 plus frames per second. What a win, right? Great stuff, my friends. I mean, it could be worse, right? I guess I'll take it. It's playable this way, you know, even if you get inside of the water, it shouldn't really drop all that much. I'm seeing that water is really intensive in this game. Yeah, 30s, high 30s. Certainly way better feeling than what we saw on Epic, because that was dropping from 30 FPS. If you play on high instead of Epic, it's gonna stay at 30 plus all of the time. 40-ish FPS also doesn't feel terrible. It just feels terrible because you spent so much on this card and this is what you get. But I can't really blame the card. It's just the developers and new engines that are just way too intensive. So I'm gonna go ahead, enable DLSS on quality, please. Thank you. It's so sad, actually. It's so sad to see the DLSS not working as it does in other games. Dude! Okay, at least now it's not dropping into like the high 30s, but it's still 40s. We're not even touching 50 FPS yet with quality DLSS. Granted, it does look better in native resolution at the very least, so at least there's that, you know, you're not really losing performance and you're making the game look a little bit better, but oh my gosh. And we thought that we had it bad with Cyberpunk 2077. Remember the 2020 days when we thought, games are terribly optimized, look at Cyberpunk. Yep, we've had it good. We've had it good and we didn't know about it. Even in Red Dead Redemption 2, when that game came out on PC, I saw a lot of people complaining about the optimization there. Anyways, let's try to use frame generation on top of quality DLSS at 1440p, and we're back to those 80s and 70s. So you already know how I feel about this. There's a little bit of input lag, but I think I would actually take this experience. I like my games to be smooth. Oh, all of a sudden it looks like Alan Wake 2. Just kidding, Alan Wake 2 looks insane, even though it's a very dark game. But yeah, this doesn't really look very right. It's just like ARK Survival Evolved. What the hell is happening here? It's so loud. What's going on? What is this? Holy! Hello there! Are you trying to eat or something? Holy crap, I'm gonna leave you alone. It throws fireballs as well. What kind of dinosaur is that? This is way too dark right now. I'm gonna exit this and create another one. Oh my god, no, this is the real deal with ARK. Okay, this is perfect. Oh yeah, I love it. Okay, back muscle. I'm gonna go with this. What is this? You can adjust individual muscles. Are you kidding me? Hand size. I'm adjusting the hand size, but it's hidden away in my belly, guys, or my hips or wherever. I can't see my hand. Something wrong is not right. I'm gonna go with it. Okay, lastly, before we wrecked everything with 8K, we got 1080p high settings preset, 100% resolution scale, no DLSS. Oh yes, I am a triangle. I'm perfect. Look at that. Can I see the fat on the belly, please? And the man boobs? No? Okay, never mind. All right, I can run around. It is perfect, isn't it, my friends? And we can get close to 60 frames per second. So at native 1080p resolution with the high settings preset... What is it doing? I don't know. The game still looks very, very good, of course, and it's getting around 60 frames per second. I guess if we played for a little bit longer, it would actually get 60 frames per second on average. Depends on where you are in the map, of course, and what you're doing, whether or not you are in a populated server, because that will actually make it way more CPU intensive and possibly introduce a CPU bottleneck in some scenarios. That's also why I'm testing single player, because it's a GPU test. I guess with DLSS quality, we can get a little bit higher visual fidelity. There we go. And those 60 FPS on average. Still dropping though. It's such a disappointment, the performance of this game, man. Oh my gosh. I can't say I'm disappointed though. Like, maybe I am, but it's ARK after all. We saw this coming. Everybody saw this coming, right, guys? Now let's enable that frame generation stuff, and oh, finally we're achieving 100 frames per second. Like, imagine if we were getting these FPS at native resolution with high settings. You'd think, well, okay, it's okay. It's still pretty intensive and unoptimized. It's a 4080 after all, but okay, it can get like 100 FPS at 1080p high settings. So at 1440p high settings, it will get like 60 or 70, and it's still gonna be very smooth. But no, this is with quality DLSS and frame generation enabled. Oh boy, no, I'm fine, it's all good. Last thing to do is select low settings first, okay? And now this is the low settings preset. I believe it still has, yep, 58% resolution scale. So let's bump it up to 100. So on low settings, we can get around 90 FPS average on an RTX 4080 and 1080p. Now, the bad thing is we lost a lot of the detail on the sand, but the game itself, like overall, it still looks really insane on low settings. It needs a very low settings preset. I've been saying this forever in these new titles. They need very low settings preset because a lot of them look too good, even on low settings. And you want the games to be playable on more systems, so you gotta make very low settings preset, guys. Developers, please. I selected the low settings because I want to check it out on 8K. So let's do that. Here we have it, guys. 7680 by 4320, 100% resolution scale, no DLSS. This is native 8K resolution. And once again, now yes, it's low settings, not epic settings anymore. But remember the thing that we were talking about. This game not scaling that well with resolution. Doesn't really change the FPS by all that much when you drop res or increase res. That's exactly what we're seeing here. I did not expect 20-something FPS at times at 8K resolution after seeing what we saw, especially not with these graphics, you know? And I'm surprised that it doesn't run out of VRAM at this res with textures like these as well. But of course, it's not playable. Nobody expected it to be anyways. This is just for fun at this point. But yeah, quite a nice surprise. So not everything is completely awful in ARK Survival Evolved, okay? So that's been it, my friends. Thank you very much for watching this video, the first look at ARK Survival Ascended here in the channel. Hope you enjoyed. Don't forget to leave a like if you did, and comment down below, and subscribe if you haven't already, and so on. The YouTube shenanigans, and I'll catch you in the next one very soon. As always, love you all. Bye-bye.